welcome. Happy Monday to you, I think. It's Monday. So let's start where we often start, which is intentions. Why are we here? So just check in for yourselves. Just notice, why are you here and what is your agenda? And it's okay, but it's not, this isn't about, bad agenda, bad self. It's not about that, but just notice innocently your intention, what's motivating you to be here, what you're hoping for. So this radical honesty, to really just be willing to be totally open and transparent just with yourself. You don't have to tell another soul, you don't have to expose this to anyone other than just to yourself. Just be honest to yourself and just see the innocence of it, and just be willing to just be honest and just see, oh, I'm in pain. I'm hoping to be rid of the pain. I'm sad. I'm hoping to no longer be sad. I feel frustrated. I want to no longer feel frustrated. I have a lot of negative self-talk. I want to be done with the negative self-talk. I have these self-defeating impulses, compulsions. I want to be done with those. I feel rigid, fearful, cowardly. I want to be free of all that. Whatever it is, you just see. And then see what it is, how you imagine that will happen. And of course, it's usually kind of vague. But it's in my view, it's important to take this opportunity, this moment, to look and see, what is it what am I bringing here? I'm coming to this already with a baggage. I'm already coming here. And as they say, my cup runneth over. I'm mixing metaphors, your bowl is overly full. So how can anything be added? We have to be willing to take a look and see, what am I bringing to this that's unnecessary, So what is it I'm hoping for? And it's not to be shaming ourselves. It's not to say that's bad and, ooh, I've caught you, and you now I'll make you pay. It's not like that. See, that's just all the old programming. That's how we've been taught to get by in this life. It's all about learning to avoid the being found out, being caught, being shamed publicly, all the rest of it. And so we've taken on all these layers of deception, and we're even lying to ourselves. But here, just be willing to be totally transparent with yourself and see your own innocence. It's totally innocent. It's just like this young child who's just afraid, in pain, confused. So that's what's there. But then just see how you build upon that. So you take that as the starting point. This is the important point to recognizing this, is that everything, the intention that flows is from that, is a reaction. It's a reaction to that. And so that is what it is that we are tethering ourselves to. So we're actually, we say, oh, I want something good. Oh, I affirm I am abundant, I am happy, I am peaceful, I am free. But when we don't look first to see what is it that what is secretly, what is it that we're really intending? Well, what we're really intending is we just want to get rid of this misery, the suffering. And as innocent as that might be, the problem is that, as I've said, we're tethering ourselves to that. So we can't ever get away from it because we're dragging it along with us no matter what we do. And, I'd have a hard time believing. I mean, most of you I know well enough to know that I know many of the things you've done and many of the hoops you've jumped through and, the classes you've taken and the techniques you've learned and all of the rest of it. So you've done many, many things, but you see what happens, and you just look in your own experience and that whatever you accomplish, whatever you achieve, whatever successes you have, whatever improvements you make, you're always dragging along this thing that you've tethered yourself to, which is the very thing that you want to get rid of. And so what eventually, maybe blessedly, will happen, but it could happen in this moment, I hope very much that it happens in this moment, is to recognize that that is you just can't do it. It's totally unsustainable. There's no way that you're going to win in this, that you can't outrun it because you've attached yourself to it. You're dragging it along. And so if you feel tired, it's for a good reason. If you feel exhausted, it's for a very good reason. And in this world, we've been taught, well, just try harder, just whip yourself into shape, force yourself, beat yourself if you need to, do whatever you have to do, just get it done. But you can't do that any longer. I mean, I pray that you can't do it any longer. Let's put it that way. I really sincerely pray that you cannot do it any longer, because you look sincerely now and you'll see it's failed before you even begin. There's no way that you can succeed in this game of outrunning what you've tethered yourself to. The first step is to see it, and then to have the courage to let that go, and to humble yourself and be sincerely open to truth. And if there's a little cynical voice that reacts to that and says, truth? What, who's got truth? Nobody has truth. Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. We have to be open. We have to be willing to let go of all of the baggage that we have to be willing to see that it hasn't worked. It was so innocent, as I've said, but it simply has not worked, and it won't work, and it makes things miserable. It's such a heavy load. So just have the courage to see that, and then to be willing to set it down, and to genuinely be open, so open. Now, let me clarify that, because I'm not suggesting, remember, I said this is about transparency and honesty with yourself. So when I say open, I don't mean open to external influences and attacks and manipulation, any of the rest of that. Actually, we've done too much of that. So I'm not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting is an openness to yourself. So to be so open with yourself that you refuse to, within yourself, define yourself or limit yourself. And you start to see how many limitations there are. They're not externally imposed, they're internally imposed. So if you do this sincerely right now, and please remember that, as I usually point out, and I'll point out right now, this is a has to be experienced. It's not something to think about. So this right now is an invitation for the direct experience. So look for yourself sincerely right now. And if you say, oh, I don't know how, I'm not sure that I'm doing it correctly, that's fine. Because this is actually at every stage, this is a learning process. So the learning process, if you again come back to that metaphor of the bowl, how can we learn if it's full already? How can we receive if it's already full? So to learn, we have to be willing to empty that bowl metaphorically. So this not knowing and the sense of incompetence is a really good sign if that's what happens. If it's not what happens, then you can't force it. So whatever happens is fine. But if that occurs, let's just take it as a good sign, and it's totally fine. You don't need to fight against it, just give thanks. Because what it's indicating is that there is this letting go of this heavy load, this bondage, this baggage, this unnecessary strain that you've been enduring that's been totally self-imposed, of the falsity of I know something, I've got it figured out. So to not know is the opening to yourself, to be willing to finally start to receive something authentic, something new, something fresh. So just notice that. And you might notice, so you might notice anything. So many possibilities, but I'll point out some. Okay, so one thing, these are like little traps that you might notice. One thing that you might notice is you might notice an idea that you have about what the right experience is, and maybe you think, well, the right experience is a peaceful experience, or the right experience is an experience of a quiet mind, or the right experience is the only positive images should come to mind, and certainly no negative images. The right experience is one that I call trust, and it's definitely not one that I call fear or anxiety. And so whatever it is that we say it shouldn't be, of course, that will inevitably arise. So the fear, the anxiety, the discomfort, the strain, the fast thinking, the compulsive thinking, all of that will happen. And see that in this process, actually, there is nothing that is wrong, nothing that is a hindrance. It's all absolutely perfect. It's all part of the process. It's all part of this learning process, and it's a learning of what? It's learning of yourself. So notice the perfection of it. You see, everything that is occurring in your direct experience can be none other than you. Now, when I say it's you, I don't mean that the individual phenomenon that's arising defines you, but I mean that what else could it be other than like a spark of yourself? So we don't need to fear it. We don't need to deny it. We don't need to reject it. We don't need to grasp at it. We don't need to cling to it. We don't need to do anything with it other than just be aware and grateful. That's always helpful, but maybe a bit of a stretch from time to time, but always helpful. So just notice that this tendency to reject the experience, to say this experience is not the right experience, I'm not doing it correctly, oh, I had such a good experience last week and now it's not working out. Or of course the other way around, you could say, oh, I'm having such a good experience, I'm so happy that this is happening, finally it's working out, finally I'm getting somewhere. So whatever it is, just notice that judgment. and see how that judgment is unnecessary, actually. So you don't need to reject the judgment. You don't need to fight with the judgment. You just be aware of it. That's all. You just see that the judgment is also part of, it's just part of this flow of this arising phenomena. That's it. So you just see it and notice that uh, this when this judgment is believed, when it's believed that I should have a particular experience, I should have a spiritual experience, I should have a positive experience, I should have an optimistic experience, I should have an uplifted experience, I should have a silent experience, I should have an experience like that other experience that I've had that I really liked. That all of that is an unnecessary distraction. And you notice what you're doing when that happens is you're just taking and you're just holding on. You're collecting more baggage to carry around with you. But the actual truth of you is infinite. So you're not going to ever collect all of the knowledge of yourself and synthesize it. You can't hold all of it in the mind, at least. So that's just not necessary. Now, of course, that seems a little maybe scary. You might notice that there's a, well, just notice. So here's the other thing is you notice how you react to all of this. So one kind of reaction is the judgment about the experience, but then you also notice these other reactions like uh, judgments of yourself, judgments of others, judgment of the event, the circumstances. So you might say, you might just notice you have judgments like, I'm not doing it correctly, or I am doing it correctly, or this isn't a good meeting, should be this other way. So you just notice those reactions and just see them, don't even hold them, but just observe them lightly so that you can just see just see them. That's all that really needs to be done, is just to see them. Not to validate or invalidate. Those are all strategies of the mind trying to figure out what am I going to keep? What am I going to get rid of? What am I going to put in my bowl, carry around? But we don't need those. There's the truth of who you are doesn't need any of those strategies because it doesn't need to have anything. It doesn't need to defend anything. It doesn't need to gain anything. It doesn't need to lose anything. It doesn't need to fix anything. Now, of course, here again, you just notice whatever is happening. So there may be judgments to that. Maybe you may notice that there's a comparison to what you already believe. Is what I'm hearing the same as what I already believe, or is it different than what I believe? If it's what I think I already believe, oh, excellent, I like this. This is a good meeting. I like it very much. Or no, this is not what I believe. Well, maybe this is a bad meeting, or maybe I just haven't fully heard it. Hold on. I'll be patient and wait until I can hear it in the right way so that I can fit it in with what I already believe. So you just see all of those things taking place. They just play out. So now here's the thing that you might already have noticed. Maybe you haven't noticed it, but you'll notice it when I point it out, hopefully. That in this moment right now, just simply being aware You notice maybe that you're okay. Mine probably goes to town with that one. What do you mean I'm okay? How dare you? How dare you say I'm okay? Because the mind's not okay. The mind can't be okay. Maybe. I mean, we'll see. Well, maybe. We can always hold out that possibility, but I wouldn't count on it. I definitely wouldn't wait for it. But just notice in this moment right now, you're okay. I mean, really, in this moment right now, what problem could there be? In truth. So when I point that out, you might notice it depends how familiar you are. See, if you have some familiarity with yourself, if you have a recognition of yourself, then me pointing that out, there's just it's a recognition, there's a relaxation, there's just oh wow, yes, I'm at home. But if you don't have that familiarity, then you might notice more agitation, more reaction, more trying to puzzle that out, figure that out. What does he mean? What does he mean? How could that be? Is it some special thing? Where is it? It's not here. I don't know where it is. So it's looking. Where could it be? Is it over there? Always wants to know where is it? How do I get it? Or whatever else it does. I mean, you see, there's so many different ways that we're conditioned. You see that, right? You see in other people, you see how people react so differently to things. So whatever the reaction is, just be willing, just again, just to observe and see as you just observe in just this one moment, just now. I'm only talking about now. I'm not talking about tomorrow or the next day or 5 minutes ago or dealing with this so-called situation that you've got related to the family or the body or the finances or whatever, the neighbors or whatever it is. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about right now, in this moment, you, not your idea of yourself, but just you as you are right now, in this very instant. Aren't you okay? Now, you hopefully at the very least catch a glimpse of this. It can be shocking at first, can be terribly shocking because this whole habit of identifying as this constant rejection, constant churning, constant discomfort, constant problem. To have this glimpse for this one instant, holy cow, I'm okay. And then you wait a second, what is that? That's okay. What is that? How could that be me? What, you start looking, what is that? Where could it be? And then it seems to maybe vanish. So you just have to, again, just notice whatever's happening. Now, again, at any level, this works. So I want to be clear about that. When I say just what you just notice what's happening. Now, at first, if you're new to this message, this is the first time you've heard this, or it's the 10th time you've heard it, or maybe the 100th time you've heard it, I don't know. You might still be looking around. You're like, what's he talking about? What do you mean? What's going on? What are you talking about? And does it mean that over there? What does he mean? Is he talking about something that's invisible, that's in the air somewhere? What are you talking about? So at that level, it's fine because you just notice that. You just notice that you're looking for something. And you just notice the subtlety of that looking. You notice the strain of that looking. See, you just notice how there's an effort involved in that looking. You notice how you can't seem to relax because this strain of trying to figure it out. Maybe you've heard this more times and you've looked more times and there's a bit more familiarity. And so at that level, you start to say, well, I kind of think maybe I have a little bit of an idea of what he's talking about, because I had some kind of glimpse before. And it wasn't what I thought it was. So you just notice that. You notice the still, whatever's happening, there's a thinking about it, comparing to past experience, cross-referencing. And then you just look subtler than that, closer than that. You just, again, notice, oh, there's an effort, there's a strain, there's a churning, there's a compulsions. Like, I can't rest, I can't let go, I can't be okay, I can't just be, I've got to figure it out, I've got to protect. So you just see that. And then, of course, if you're more familiar, you already can just kind of right away, without having to go through all those little hoops, you just right away notice, oh yeah, it's just, oh yeah, just this kind of knot, this kind of discomfort, this strain, this trying, this efforting, this sense of being someone who's got to figure it out and get by. You just notice that right away. You just notice it. It starts to become so obvious. It's just almost nauseating. You notice it all the time, maybe. And then you just notice that you're noticing that. So the noticing of that, just the pure seeing, the pure awareness of that, doesn't have a problem. Totally free, already okay. So just notice, that's it. You just glimpse that. You just glimpse this already okayness that's here. And just so that it's clear, just in case there's some confusion about it, I'm not talking about something extraordinary. I'm talking about just the ordinary sense of yourself. I mean, like, you catch a glimpse of this daily, but you just didn't have a context to understand it because nobody pointed it out to you. But it's not something extraordinary. It's what happens when you're, like, you're between sleep and wakefulness. You're there, but the idea of yourself isn't there. All the problems haven't formed yet. You're just, you are, but totally free, no problems. You see, and now you start to notice, oh yeah, you know this already, don't you? You already know this. This is already always the case. In fact, you've always known it, but you just didn't recognize it because nobody pointed it out and you didn't really cultivate it. Instead, you trained yourself to identify as something else. It's one who has all the problems, has got to figure it all out. So we got to go stepwise. Okay, so first step is just to have this glimpse. So just have the glimpse, just notice, oh yes, I'm okay. Now, next is to clarify that a bit and maybe, well, it's a clarification. Now that clarification could take place in many different ways. So there's no one right way. There's no one right experience. So don't look for a particular experience. That's another trap. I mean, it's the same trap we've already talked about, but it keeps surfacing. So you notice that there's an experience that goes along with this glimpse. So there might be a particular kind of sensation. You might have there's a state change, and whatever that state change is, you then will tend to associate that state with the glimpse, and then you say, oh, the state is the glimpse. So I am that state. Oh, the truth of who I am is that state. Oh, that's wonderful. I just want to maintain that state. I just got to prolong that state. But see, that state comes and goes. So forget about it. Save yourself the unnecessary hassle. Don't just forget about the state. Be willing to let that go. And you just have to understand that the truth of what it is that is available, the real truth, the real joy, the real glory of it has nothing whatsoever to do with the state. the state is trivial in comparison, and you have to accept that, because otherwise you're going to say, oh, but that state is so good, I always want that state. But honestly, you've got to be willing to let go of the state and accept that the real truth is far, far, far greater than the state, even the greatest state. So now we'll, with that understanding, recognize that it's not about prolonging something. It's not about sustaining a state. We don't need to do any of that. It's about a recognition. This is the first essential piece, is this recognition. And then we want to clarify that recognition. So you see, again, just notice just this awareness that you're just aware right now. You're just observing the one who's aware, the awareness itself, totally free and totally ordinary, not something extraordinary. It's who you've always known yourself to be. It's that which is totally continuous, always. It's the one continuity. It's the one essential reality that is the through line in every experience. You know that this is my experience. I'm here now. I'm me. I exist. In all these different contexts, always it's you, and this you is just this awareness that's free, totally ordinary. So you don't have to go looking for it somewhere. It's just here. It's just you, your sense of self. So now we just need to clarify that just by repeatedly seeing it and seeing it over and over and over, independent of the states, independent of the conditions, independent of all of the context, so that it starts to be clearer and clearer what it is that we're really talking about. Because still the habit is to associate things with it. So we still say, okay, no, I get it. I see it. I experience it. It's, yes, that's real. I know that I am awareness. But then I still have all these problems, you see. So we just need to keep clarifying that. And this is about continuing now to simply observe the experience. Now, let me reframe this, because I think this reframing is useful. Most of the time, we're taught that, and it's reinforced over and over and over and over, your name, this person, this, oh, you're the one who did that thing, you, that one, the one who has this intelligence, the one who doesn't have that kind of intelligence, the one who's capable in this way, the one who's incapable in that way, you, the one who was born at this time and in this place, that one, reinforced over and over and over, this identity. So that conditioning is there, and that conditioning gets mixed with in our perception with this essential self, so that there's a lack of clarity. And in that way that we're conditioned to perceive of ourselves, what we're taught, at least implicitly, that the purpose of life is to be successful. And we form an idea about what that success is. And that notion of success will vary from person to person, but you'll just see in a general sense that the idea that's conditioned into the majority of us is that the purpose of life is for you as an individual to be successful. So, a lot of pressure involved in that. First of all, you've got to figure out what it is to be successful. Then you've got to be successful in that. And of course, you'll never be, ever, never, ever, ever, because that standard is impossible. However it's defined, it's always impossible. So that's the context in which most of us are living. That's how we perceive. That's how we act. That's how we think. It's all based on that. It's all comes back down to this person who I think I am has to be successful. And I, as this person, have to do that. I have to do whatever is necessary to be successful. So instead, this is when I said I want to provide a different context, different way to understand that will be much more conducive to inquiry, is to understand. I mean, first of all, just to see that what a ridiculous notion that is. I mean, says who? Whatever you believe, just really honestly, says who? You, right? I mean, you're the only one. You might say, well, but everybody else seems to agree. Yeah, but to you say that everybody agrees. You believe it, and then you believe that everybody agrees. You do. It's only you. So you've constructed the prison unconsciously and innocently, but now it's been pointed out, you don't have an excuse. So not sorry, I guess. So just take a look and see now. This whole idea of who you are and what the purpose of your life is has been entirely fabricated by you, albeit unconsciously. And you're miserable in that. So, of course, we've already looked to see, and you've had this glimpse that who you really are, awareness, this pure awareness, is never miserable, always free. But this habit continues to reassert itself. I have this glimpse, but then goes right back into, but the one who had the glimpse is this person. And now how am I, as this person, going to make use of that glimpse in order to achieve my aim of being successful so that I can be happy? So we have to completely wipe that clean and start anew with a completely different understanding, a completely different context. And here's what I will propose to you, is that you just completely need to do away with, completely abandon the false notion that you exist in time. So you just have to completely abandon that. You have to, in order to do that, it's helpful, extraordinarily helpful, to see that that's actually the truth, that you don't exist in time. So again, just have this glimpse. Now, hopefully it's not that hard. Just notice you are aware, you are present right now. You are this awareness. You don't have to look for it. If you're thinking about it or looking for it, you're trying way too hard. Just notice it's instantaneous. It's just to notice that you are here. Not the idea of yourself, but just the here-ness, the isness, this isness, this awareness. That's it. Just notice that. It's very intimate. You can't step out of it because you are it. So you might say, well, it's too simple. It's too obvious. I don't know. How can I make use of that? Great. Yes, it's very, very simple, very obvious. That's exactly right. Now, notice that this awareness, I'm just using the word awareness just to have a way to describe it. You, the reality of you, your true self, just here now, the simplicity of your true self, totally free. And notice not existing in time. Just take a look and see. If it's the first time you've seen it, it might be a bit mind-blowing. If you've seen it before, then yeah, whatever, it's easy, old hat. But just take a look and see. You, the reality of you, are not in time. You're not some character existing in time. That entire idea of time, the entire idea of a character in time, exists in you. So you are completely free of time, independent of time. You do not exist in time. You are only here now. So you can't, This idea, oh, you be here now, try to be here now. I mean, forget about it. That's ridiculous. Who's going to try to be here now? You can't. You already are. And it's not now as opposed to past and future. No, it's the now in which the past and future are imagined. And you are already effortlessly that. So just relax for a moment and just glimpse it. That's it. Just glimpse it. Just see. You don't have to wrap your mind around it. Just glimpse it. Just be open. And again, just to yourself, just open to yourself that much, just within yourself, just open that much that you can glimpse within yourself that you are this infinite, eternal, unbound self, and that all time is only an idea, and that idea exists in you now. And that's the only reality of time. And that this character that you've taken yourself to be is also in your mind now. It's only in imagination. So both the character and time are dreamed by you now. Hopefully that's clear for the time being, Then you try to figure it out and you get confused again. But in the moment, for one instant, you can glimpse it. So it's very helpful to have this glimpse and to recognize, wow, I am not bound by time. I am this infinite awareness, and time arises as an idea only in me now. Time has no independent existence. And so then you can start to see, okay, so this idea that I am trying to get somewhere and achieve something and be successful always, which is going to be in the future, by the way, it's totally absurd. So we can just do away with that entirely, just dispense with it now, just get rid of it. I mean, just let it go. It doesn't make any sense. And you can see that in the proper context. Now, then we still have this seeming dilemma, which is, yeah, but all of this stuff still seems to be happening, and so much of it seems to be so unpleasant. I just kind of don't like it. Isn't that true? I mean, isn't that how, don't you have those? Can't you sometimes just you sit quietly and you're so happy, peaceful, everything dissolves and there's just oneness, and you're just, oh, I'm so happy. Such peace, eternity now, oneness now. And then, your family comes home, or somebody calls, or you get an email, or the dog barks next door, or God knows what. And you're like, oh, what happened? Why is life like this? We want to know. Why is this? Why is it always, why is this, why does it barge in on my pristine happiness? Why does it do that? So what I'm suggesting is that this is when we look at it in the right context, we can see that all of this that's happening, what we judge as good and what we judge as bad, all the experience, all of it is happening only now, only in this self. See, it's not separate from me. It's not other than me. It's not anywhere other than now. It has no past. It has no future. So it's all arising now. And what is it showing me? It's a dance showing me what exactly, precisely what it is that I am believing. See, the belief is like the film. The light of awareness projects through the film, and then we see that projected as this movie over there. And so this whole phenomenal reality, including this character, the feelings, the thoughts, the opinions, the judgments, the reactions, the relationships, all of it, which, by the way, that's all that you experience. So just notice that this so-called external reality is total fantasy. It's entirely experienced here and now as yourself. It's your thoughts, opinions, judgments, experiences, perception, you see, hear, feel, taste, touch, and so forth and so on. So there's nothing that's happening, nothing that's happening that's outside of that. It's entirely in awareness. It's entirely in you, as you. It's only you. It's your own self. And there's this play happening. And you say, well, I wouldn't have created this miserable play. This is not a play. This sucks. Guess what? That right there, you're a witness to your own film. You created it. You're like, wonder what that would be like. Oh, there it is. Oh boy, that sucks. But then the thing we miss is that it's a divine play. Notice, you to say that cynical voice. It goes to town with everything. But you just see it's a divine play. Now let that in. And you see, if you come back again to this glimpse, maybe you find it's easier now. It's just to notice that whatever's happening here it is. It's just happening, isn't it? I mean, you didn't have to do any of this, actually. If you really tell the truth, remember how we started. Just be really honest. Be really open with yourself. You don't have to share it with anybody else. You don't have to let anybody else know. You don't have to tell other people, hey everybody, I figured out. I thought you were the jerk. Sorry, it was me. You don't have to let them know. You don't have to tell anybody. You can still have a hardened shell on the outside, outside, but you inside, just be soft with yourself and just smile a little bit and chuckle. Like, yeah, I was the jerk. I was the one with the bad attitude. I was the one with the judgments. I'm the one. It's only me. And this is such good news, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So just, again, have this glimpse where you just notice that all of this is happening in you. These are your thoughts, your perception, your projection, your interpretation, your meaning, entirely fabricated by you now, including whatever judgments might come up about it, including whatever judgments might come up about the judgments about it, and on and on and on ad infinitum. Just see that it's all happening now in you, as you. It's all yours. It's entirely your creation right now. All of it, without exception. All of it, everything that's happening in this awareness that you are now. You see how that's true? Nothing's outside of it. Now notice that this awareness itself, totally free. So now you've got this, you've got all the ingredients, and I'm not proposing, sometimes maybe I've done this, others certainly have done this. It's like, okay, there you go. You got it. It's all easy now, easy peasy. You got all the information. You're enlightened. Good luck. No, you see, this is it's a play. It's a dance. It's a revelation. It's a creation that is evolving. And you say, why? Because that's what you want, obviously. And you say, well, I don't want this. But you do. Here's the thing. Yes, absolutely. You see things in this that you say, no, don't want that. But now we'll come right back full circle to where we began, which is when we notice those things, we don't have to, but we are wise to see this important point, which is that when there's something that we perceive, where is that perception? Here and now. Whose is it? Mine. So there's not, I don't have anyone else to blame. There's nowhere else. I don't need to blame myself either. It's not about blame, but I'm just saying this game of blame, we can give up the game of blame. We can just see it. Here it is, it's happening. And then notice that what happens when I observe something and then there's a reaction and I claim that reaction as a truth. If I say, oh, this is terrible, I need to fix it, and I believe that, just notice how that feels. Notice what the subtle experience is. And you'll immediately, if you glimpse this, you'll see, oh yes, I am reinforcing that very thing. It's like the grain of sand in the oyster and irritates the oyster, and then the oyster builds up the mineral deposits around it to try and prevent the irritation, so the pearl develops. It's like that. We're saying, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. And every time we say, I don't want this, what we're doing is we're laying down more substance around it, making it more and more real. So when you perceive something that you don't like, guess what? Don't latch on to it. Just notice it, just see it. And the miracle is that in the seeing is the release. In this dance, in this play, there's this movement. Here's how this form is taking place, and just let it happen, let it play out. And then you'll see what happens. So this helps us to hopefully you can, and I know there's a lot to recognize here, but I'll point out this one last thing. So you notice that oftentimes when speaking of so-called non-duality, people will say, they'll point out awareness, and then they say, ta-da, awareness, end of story. And then you're left thinking, okay, great. Now if I just have to get to awareness and just stay in awareness and get rid of all this nightmarish duality, get rid of it. And you see what you're doing. What we all end up doing is this, we're creating that false division. So now I'm this awareness, and I've got to guard myself, protect myself from that evil duality, all of that stuff happening over there. Ugh, good riddance. And of course, we're reinforcing exactly what we don't want, because all we're doing is we're saying misery, suffering still exists, and it exists apart from me, has an independent reality, and I need to protect myself from it. And all we've done is we said, finally, I've identified where it is. It's over there, and I can separate myself from it. I can stay over here. So in awareness, I am free, and we're kind of like, whoa, I can't hear you. And, suffering's over there. And we're like, no, sorry, I can't hear you. No, I'm over here. I'm awareness, can't hear you, can't hear you, can't hear you. And then eventually we realize it's a little bit uncomfortable. So I think I'm still suffering a little bit. So now the opportunity is to see the truth of the true non-dual reality, in which there is no separation. There never was any separation. The distinction between awareness and creation is false. And at best, it's a useful pointer. It's a provisional teaching at best. But we're foolish to stay stuck there. And what you're seeing now is that there is no separation between this play and awareness. This play is happening in awareness, of awareness. It is nothing other than that. You can't separate them. So this play, the old way is to say, well, I still think I'm something, and now I've identified I'm awareness and I'm safe over here. I just got to get rid of that over there. And then but this way is to recognize that was just false. There's no problem, because that old way reinforces still the sense that I'm something in time. Now I'm just waiting it out, right? Oh, finally I've realized I am awareness. I am free. But that pesky phenomenal reality just keeps on happening. God, I hope it stops soon. I'll just wait it out. So there's still this subtle sense that I'm something in time and I'm waiting out that. But I'm suggesting don't wait. You don't need to wait. Waiting is only perpetuates the falsity of suffering. That what's really, so as I say, it's a provisional step. It's like a stepping stone to recognize that I am awareness. But that awareness has to be recognized as not separate. And so this is an integration to realize, to really inquire into the nature of reality, not just to recognize this awareness, but also to recognize that there's a non-separation in the appearance. So that this play is occurring and that it is a eternal process, that we don't have to wait for something to stop. We don't have to wait for peace to come about. We recognize that I am eternal peace, and that this play is only an expression of myself. And it is a play, and it can be taken lightly. It is possible. One more thing that I'll say about this, and it's an important point, is to see that whatever it is that's being projected, notice the heaviness and the seriousness with which you react to it. And it indicates, it's showing you precisely where you can choose levity. That's it, just to choose. So it's like, again, this is what you're tethering yourself to. It's heavy and it's being shown to you, and all you have to do is maybe smile, let it go. And you say, but I don't feel like smiling. Well, who's the boss? You got to just inquire into that too. Find out who's the boss. So there we go. That's the end of the formal portion today. And for those who are here live, we'll stay on for the Q&A. So let me end this recording.